What's up, everyone? Welcome back to R&J Barbecue. I'm Eli, and we have been going through the journey of the World Cup, jumping through nation to nation. It's starting to heat up, a lot of upsets, controversial calls, and the field is really thinning out. So today we're going to jump across the pond and make some British pub burgers. All right, let's go. All right, let's get started with cutting our onion. We're not going to dice it. We're going to leave big strips, so when we throw it in the pan with the butter and it starts caramelizing, it's just going to turn golden brown, and it's just going to be delicious. All right, now that we got the onions prepped, we're going to go ahead start heating up our pan with the butter, and then we're going to throw these in. All right, our butter has melted, so now we're going to go ahead and add the onions. Now we want to have this on a low heat. If it's too high, you're going to end up burning the onions, or kind of like frying them, and it's going to give it an off taste. So keep it low. We're just going to slowly keep mixing it around. Everything is evenly heated and it'll start nicely browning. All right, as you can see, we're just still cooking our onions here on a nice simmer. They are starting to turn translucent, not burning. So we're just going to let these go and start darkening up, and we'll get that awesome caramelized look, color, and taste. So we have our onions cooking, they're doing their thing. Now we're gonna start by prepping our burgers. All right, so for our burgers, I'm using the butcher's blend. You can use any ground beef that is at your store. So now let's start prepping these burgers. All right, in our bowl, we're gonna go add our beef. Next, we're gonna add a tablespoon of Worcestershire, W sauce, whatever you want to call it, and some salt, pepper, and garlic. Now we're going to mix. Get that all incorporated. The Worcestershire is going to just add that depth of flavor, a little bit more umami. Now that that's incorporated, we're gonna start making our patties. You can go as thin or as thick as you like. Got our mixture. Go ahead and start forming these up. We'll make sure we want to get it nice and flat in the middle. Don't want the outer edges to get overcooked, and we don't want the inside to be undercooked. If you have one of those burger presses or shapers, you can use that. I don't have one, so I'm going with some artistic flair here, like I'm just sculpting. All right, that should be good for one. Now let's continue. You could also put them in a ball and then press them like a smash burger, but I don't know if that really constitutes as a pub burger. All right, we have our patties all formed, seasoned, and ready to cook. So let's go ahead, start warming up our skillet and get ready to throw them on. All right, the skillet's on, it's heated. Put a little bit of oil in there. So let's go ahead and throw these burgers on. We'll just put 2 in at a time. Don't want to overcrowd it. Man, as soon as it hit the heat, you can smell the Worcestershire, the salt, pepper, and garlic. I can already tell these are going to be good. All right, so we let the burgers go for a couple minutes. Now it's time to give them a flip. Looking good, looking good. start developing a crust. We don't want to keep flipping the burgers over and over. So just relax, let the cooking happen. If you have a fancy English ale, you know, enjoy that. If you're on the cheaper side, I think at the liquor store they have Old English as well, so you can pick that up. All right, these are looking good. Now we're gonna go ahead and add our cheese. I'm using Tillamook extra sharp cheddar. All right, so we put the cheese on. We'll let that melt down all nice, cover the burger, and we'll start putting it all together. All right, everything's cooked, so let's start putting this all together. I got some potato buns, as I felt it gave it that more pub feel. You can use brioche or whatever you want. All right, let's add a burger. Our caramelized onions. Those look great. You can keep them on a little longer if you want them darker, more caramelized. Probably add a little bit of sugar as well to help with that. But this is good to me. Last but not least, we have some HP sauce. Last but not least, we have our HP sauce, which looks like a glorified A1 sauce, sauce to me, just with a different label. And that is our British pub burger. All right, so it's all completed. The last thing we need to do is give it a taste. Yeah, that hits. The HP sauce is legit, I'm not gonna lie. Simple to make. Those caramelized onions really tie this dish together. Yeah, this is a really good, simple, flavorful burger. So why don't you go ahead and give it a try? Let me know how it goes in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us more on this World Cup journey. Peace.